You're about to hear one of the most incredible, most unbelievable stories in the entire history of space exploration. It's a story where geopolitics, science, and just sheer human endurance collide in a way that honestly sounds like science fiction. But just imagine that for a second. Seriously, you pack a bag, you go off to do your job, and while you're away, the country you call home, the flag on your uniform, your passport, everything, it just ceases to exist. Well, for cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev, this wasn't some wild thought experiment. It's literally what happened to him while he was orbiting 250 miles above all of us. So, how on earth does something like this even happen? To get it, we have to rewind, because his mission to the Mir space station, well, it started out as completely routine. Okay, so let's set the scene. On May 18th, 1991, the Soviet cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev blasted off, heading to the Mir space station. The plan was pretty simple. Spend about 5 months up there, run some experiments, and then head on home. Pretty standard stuff, right? And yeah, everything about the launch felt normal, right down to the, quirky pre-flight rituals. See, ever since Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, did it, it's been a good luck tradition for cosmonauts to relieve themselves on the back tire of the transport bus. Just another day at the office. And once he got up there, Krikalev settled right in. This quote from him really tells you everything about his mindset. He said that while other guys would read, he would just spend hours at the window, just looking down at the earth, just watching the world he knew spin by, a world that was about to change in ways he couldn't possibly imagine. Yeah, because while he was up there having this almost spiritual experience, peacefully gazing at the planet, down on the ground, a political earthquake was ripping his home country to shreds. And the collapse happened so fast. It started in August of 91 with a failed coup in Moscow. That was the trigger. Suddenly, Soviet republics started declaring independence one after another. By October, things were so chaotic that a relief mission could only afford to bring one of his crewmates home, so Krikalev had to stay. And then came the final nail in the coffin. On Christmas Day, the Soviet Union was officially dissolved. Gone. And this created this absolutely insane logistical nightmare. The Baikonur Cosmodrome, the only place they could launch from and land at, was located in what had been the Soviet Republic of Kazakhstan. Well, now Kazakhstan was its own independent country. Suddenly, his only ride home was in a foreign nation. Can you even wrap your head around that level of isolation? He is floating in this tiny, noisy, aging metal can all by himself. His country has literally disappeared from the map, his government is gone, and there is absolutely no plan to bring him home. So at this point, the science experiments, they were out the window. His mission had become a pure, brutal test of survival, both for his mind and for his body. He would end up spending a grand total of 311 consecutive days in space. 311 days. So to put that in perspective, his planned 5-month mission more than doubled. He was stuck up there for almost an entire year. This was a record-breaking stay in space that he never, ever asked for. And this wasn't just about being lonely or stressed. Every single extra day he spent in orbit was physically wrecking his body. Without gravity pulling you down all the time, the human body just starts to fall apart in some really scary ways. Okay, so to really get this, think about it like this. A blue whale is the biggest animal on Earth, but its skeleton is actually pretty light because the water supports its massive weight. Now think about a gorilla. It needs a super thick, dense skeleton to hold its body up against gravity all day. In space, an astronaut's body is like the whale's. It doesn't have to fight gravity. So your body just goes, hey, I guess we don't need these dense bones or strong muscles anymore, and they just start to waste away. Krikalev was literally losing bone mass and muscle every single day. But finally, after months of him just floating up there in limbo, with no answers and his body deteriorating, a plan finally started to come together to bring him home. So, step 1, the brand new Russian government had to actually sit down and negotiate with the brand new country of Kazakhstan just for permission to use the launch site. A deal was finally made. Then a rescue capsule was sent up, and on March 25th, 1992, Sergei Krikalev's incredibly long journey finally came to an end. When they opened the hatch, the people who saw him said he looked pale as chalk. 4 people had to help him just to stand up. That was the physical toll of 311 days without gravity. But it was also the look of someone who had been through an unimaginable mental ordeal, forgotten in orbit while the world changed beneath him. He came back to an Earth he could barely recognize, but his story gave him this unique, permanent, and kind of poetic place in history. He became known unofficially as the last Soviet citizen. Think about it. He launched into space wearing a uniform with USSR proudly stitched on the chest, and he landed on a planet where that country simply did not exist anymore. And what is just mind-blowing to me is what he did next. This ordeal didn't break him. I mean, most people would have said, that's it, I'm done, and retired. But not Krikalev. He went back to space, multiple times. Over his entire career, he ended up spending a total of 803 days in orbit. The resilience is just off the charts. And I think that's what makes his story so powerful and timeless. He left Earth as a hero of one country and returned as a living relic of another. From orbit, you don't see any borders. You just see one planet. And it leaves you with this really profound question. What does a flag on your shoulder really mean when you're looking down on the whole world?